Next, bureaucracy in India. In Kerala, PSC and UPSC are conducting examinations for state as well as center. Here, that is Public Service Commission and Union Public Service Commissions are conducting competitive examinations and interviews for the appointment of officials in state as well as central department. During the period of British, the Britishers also conducted competitive examinations in order to appoint persons in their offices. Here, they conducted examinations and they considered all this a part of civil service. When India attained independence, India also accepted it as a part of our civil service. The civil service in India, or after conducting competitive examinations and interviews, the employees are appointed in different departments. This also a part of civil service. Mainly, the civil service in India divided into three categories. All the employees who work under public administrative system are the part of civil service. Mainly the civil services can be divided into three categories. They are, first one, All India Service. All India Service. Second, Central Service. Then third one, State Service. One is All India Service, Central Service and State Service. All India Service, what are the features of All India Service? Firstly, All India Service, that is recruits at national level, recruits at national level. Second feature, appoints in state and central government. Central government department. Examples: IAS. All India Service features recruits at national level, appoints in state and central government departments. Then examples of this, that is IAS, Indian Administrative Service. Then second one, that is Central Service. Here recruits at national level. Recruits at national level. Then second one, appoints only in central government department. Appoints only in central government department. Example: IRS, Indian Railway Service. Then third one, that is State Service. Here recruits at state level. Appoints only in state government department. Example here, that is sales tax. Sales tax officers. Here once again children, here civil services classified into three categories: All India Service, Central Service and State Service. All India Service recruits at national level, appoints in state and central government department. Examples here, that is IAS. Second one, that is central service, recruits at national level, appoints only in central government department. Example, IRS, Indian Railway Service. Then state service, recruits at state level, appoints only in state government department. Here, example here, sales tax officers. The candidates of All India Service and Central Services are selected by UPSC, Union Public Service Commission. They conducted competitive examinations for All India Service and Central Service. The chairman and members of UPSC or Union Public Service Commissions are appointed by President of India. Here, chairman and members of UPSC are appointed by President of India. Then, but the state service, the competitive examinations are conducted by PSC or Public Service Commission. The chairman and members are of this PSC are appointed by Governor of Kerala. Then here these two, that is UPSC and PSC, are followed constitutional provisions. That is PSC and UPSC are followed constitutional provisions. That is why these are considered as constitutional institutions. Both PSC and UPSC are followed constitutional provisions. That is why they are known as constitutional institutions. All the activities of this public administrative systems are put into practice through number of administrative reforms. Let's examine the administrative reforms. Here, the administrative reforms are implemented in order to make the public administrative system more effective. The first one, that is e-governance. E-governance is the use of information technology or electronic technology in administration. Here, use of electronic technology in administration is called as e-governance. Here, according to APJ Abdul Kalam, our former President of India, that is, in order to avoid red tapeism and corruption in administration, this e-governance is efficient. Following are the important features of e-governance. Let's examine the features of e-governance. First one, need not to wait in government offices or service. Second, can receive the service of information technology. Third one, government services offered speedy and with less expense. Fourth one, efficiency of the officers and quality of the service get enhanced. Here once again, the importance of the e-governance: need not to wait in government offices for service. Second, can receive the service of information technology. Third one, government services offered speedy and with less expensive. Then fourth one, efficiency of the officers and quality of the service get enhanced. These are the major benefits or features of e-governance. Here mainly in Kerala, we can see these services through Akshaya Kendras. We get these services through Akshaya Kendras. Then here examples for this type of information that is use of electronic technology in administration. One example here, the single window system for the higher secondary admission is an example for this e-governance. Then here once again we can see e-governance is the use of electronic technology in administration, and it is more effective than other measures in Kerala. Next one, that is right to information. We have to collect information of any office about its functioning. Suppose you have to collect information regarding the panchayat office or the village office or any of the schools. we have the right to attain this as per the Right to Information Act of 2005. The Right to Information Act was passed in 2005. The Mazdoor Kisan Shakti Sangadan of Rajasthan paved the way for the implementation of Right to Information Act of 2005. As per the Right to Information Act, it is the right of each and every individual to get the information about a particular office. Following are the important benefits of this right to information. First one, it prevents corruption. Second, create responsibility. Third one, make the functioning of the government transparent. Here, once again, the right as per the Right to Information Act or the benefits of the Right to Information Act, that is, it prevent corruption. As per this Act, Right to Information Act, we have the right to collect information regarding any of the institutions which function in Kerala. Because of this, it prevent corruption. Second, create responsibility. Then the third one, that is, make the functioning of the government transparent.